Good evening, everyone, and one and all present here for today's C2C session. So, I would like to thank everyone for joining us for the fourth session and seventh edition of Campus to Corporate series organized by TERI School of Advanced Studies. And for today, we have our esteemed guest, Mr. Srinidhi Rao, who is the Sustainability General Manager at WayCool Foods and Products Private Limited. On behalf of Department of Policy and Management Studies, we welcome you, sir. So now I would like to request Jobin to welcome our speaker.
Thank you, Monisha. Good evening, everyone. I have the privilege and the honor to introduce Mr. Srinidhi Rao. And for the ones who do not know about his background, I'll just quickly take you through some of the academic as well as professional qualifications and success he has achieved over the years in the industry. Mr. Srinidhi is a professional, has professional experience in corporate sustainability strategy, climate risk management, impact leadership, sustainability marketing, and communication. He has been working in the ESG strategy development and execution. He also has a lot of experience in climate risk analysis, product life cycle analysis, GHG emissions inventory, and various other aspects of integrated ESG and climate change and circular economy. Um, Prior to joining WayCool, Srinidhi has worked with organizations like Marico Limited, Frost and Sullivan, and Emergent Ventures India. Uh, he's also known to be a strategic thinker, a sustainability evangelist, and curator of creative assets that deliver value. He has a number of degrees, but primarily got his master's in energy and environmental engineering from VIT Vellore, and a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from VTU, along with a diploma and a number of certifications, which range from integrated reporting to GRI standards, as well as sustainable finance, as well as advanced training on green supply chain by CII. And with that incredible portfolio, I think we have a lot to learn today from him. And we welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time out and being here amidst us. We really look forward to hearing from you and learning from you and exchanging knowledge. So thank you so much once again. And I hand it over to you now to take us through the session.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jubin and Monisha. First of all, pleasure to be here on this TERI platform. I think it's a very interesting, initiative taken by TERI to connect the, future professionals with the, industry, people. So I believe that this connect will help the, people who are there with TERI now to understand what is it that the industries are looking going forward to in terms of sustainability and other activities. So I think first of all, thank you very much, Jubin, for that introduction what you've given to me. So as part of the session, what I plan to do is I would like to speak upon a topic which looks at what sustainability means for a food supply chain company like WayCool, and how we are trying to embrace this sustainability strategy in terms of delivering the business impact. I do have a small presentation. Let me just share my screen. And as and how I move through the presentation, I will explain you the initiatives and agendas what we are doing. If anybody has any questions or queries, I'm okay if you want to stop me in between and ask me, or I can just hold it for the end of the session. We can anyway discuss at the end as well. Yeah. So let me just share my screen. Great, thank you. So what I have as part of this presentation is that first I will be quickly giving a small introduction about the company, what I'm associated with, and then I will move to very small context setting in terms of what is the problem or the crisis statement what we are looking at, and how sustainability helps us to overcome this problem statement, and what WayCool has been doing in its journey of integrating sustainability into overall business strategy, and how we have taken some of the impact related initiatives in the company. And finally, I will try and conclude in terms of what we foresee as the way forward for this company in the space and how sustainability will enable further business impact for the company. So, so just to give a quick, introduction to the company, what I'm associated with, WayCool Foods and Products Private Limited, or in short, we refer it to as WayCool, is in the business of, building direct supply chain in the food sector. We are probably, amongst the, largest and the fastest growing agri-commerce company in the country. This company was founded in the year 2015. Primarily, our business operations include sourcing of food commodity, handling, processing wherever necessary, storing, and then the distribution. I would say we operate in a very complex and in a very essential space. Complex because in India, if you look at the food supply chain sector, it is very fragmented with multiple layers and channels. The complexity is, starts right from the farmer landholding to the cultivation and harvesting practices, what the farmers practice, and then to the storing technologies, what is being used, and also the logistic modes which are available in the country. There are multiple exchange of hand in terms of the food when it travels between the source to the destination. So all these things creates a lot of complexities is what I would like to highlight. And because of these complexities, it also becomes essential in a way. These complexities lead to a lot of inefficiencies and also generate or end up with a lot of wastages. So when we speak about wastages, it can be either manpower waste or the financial resource waste or the wastage of food itself in the form of dump. So hence, the Indian food supply chain as compared to the Western world is very much different. For example, if you look at the the average land holding size of a farmer in India, which is about 1 hectare, as compared to Western world is almost about 200 to 250 hectares. Here, predominantly the farming is practiced conventionally and it is more of labor intensive, whereas in the Western world it is more of mechanized farming what is followed. And also the exchange of hands, what happens in India, there are at least about 10 to 11 layers of exchange from the farm gate till the time it reaches the customer, whereas in the Western world it's just about 3 to 4. So all these things leads to a lot of inefficiencies. So we as a company, WayCool, we believe that there is ample opportunity for us to work in the space and solve these inefficiencies, and that is what exactly the vision with which this company operates. So the vision statement for this company is to be a most impactful, efficient, and sustainable agri-commerce platform. So the term efficient, impactful, and sustainable is very core, and this is something which is integrated into every business decision what we make. And this is supported closely by the core values of the company, which speaks about being humble, being humane, and being hungry. So this is the foundation core values what this company follows as well. In terms of the overall business model or the service, if you look at WayCool, we primarily procure 3 categories of product. One is the fresh produce, which is the fruits and vegetables. Second, the milk, and third are the staples. So our customers are predominantly B2B customers. We deal with the retail stores, which in India is also referred as Kirana stores. This is our dominant customer base. And we also supply beside these Kirana stores to the modern trade channels, both online and offline players, and also to the hotels, restaurants, and institutional caterers. Besides this, we also service large industrial processors as well as wholesalers. In terms of our procurement, we procure both domestic within India as well as globally as international imports as well. However, when you look at the selling, it is predominantly domestic and more specifically, covering the southern states of India and also Maharashtra. Coming to the fresh produce, which is primarily the fruits and vegetables, we handle full range of these, the fresh produce category. So in vegetables, if you see, we have English vegetables, the exotic, and also the country vegetables, and some of the common commodities like onion, tomato, and potato. WayCool deals with all this category. Similarly, in the fruits, we have Indian perennial fruits, Indian seasonal fruits, and also the imports. Again, we deal with all these categories. In terms of F&B, fruits and vegetables procurement, we have an well-established integrated supply chain. We procure from the farmers, We procure from the farmer producer organizations, which are the local societies at the taluk or gram panchayat level, and also we procure from the farmer aggregators. This contributes to almost these three channels, almost about 65% of our fresh produce procurement. The remaining 35% comes from the market procurement. On the other hand, the staples, again here we have the procurement from large number of farmer base. The processing what involves in staples is one milling, which is done at the mills which are associated with WayCool on a contractual basis, and then repacking. And lastly, on the dairy, we have a dairy facilities where we procure raw milk from the farmers, which is chilled within the chilling units, and then processed at our dairy unit, and then supplied to the same supply chain channels which are available for the other categories as well. So this in overall is the more or less the business model what WayCool has been operating in. If you look at in terms of the company reach, we have about 100 plus total customer base. We are not restricted only to the large cities or the tier 1 cities. We are also evenly spread across tier 2 and tier 3 cities in the country. In terms of total produce that is handled by the company, which was very minuscule when we started in 2015, as on date we handle almost about 900 tons of produce every day, which is equivalent to about 300 plus full truckload of vehicle goods which is being handled by the company. All these things are served through a network of about 39 distribution centers or the warehouse centers what we have, and about 16 collection centers, and about 22 processing units which we touch. So in terms of farmers, we work predominantly with a large set of farmer base in the country, which is almost about 85,000 plus farmers, and a larger portion of our procurement, about 65% comes from these farmers. We also have our own four brands, which provides best in class consistency and variety of the products. Kitchenji is one of our brand which primarily provides the experience of all the kitchen essentials, right from the spices, the oil, mayonnaise, various types of sauces, and the specialty gravies, all these things. Maduram is our second brand, which handles which encompasses the Indian dal and also the rice varieties with respect to South Indian states. Third brand is our Freshies, which offers a range of ready-to-cook products. This includes idli batter, dosa batter, ghee, paneer, all these product categories. And lastly, the Exotic, which is our premium foods brand, which we do the sourcing directly from the orchards across the world, primarily from USA, New Zealand, Chile, and other region, and also the Indian seasonal foods. So these four are the brands with homegrown brands of WayCool. So lastly, this is the leadership team of WayCool, co-founded by Mr. Karthik Jayaraman and Mr. Sanjay Dasri. Mr. Karthik Jayaraman is also the CEO of the company, supported by the rest of the leadership team. The founding members and also many of the leadership team at WayCool comes from the experience of automobile sector. Some of these people were all ex Ashok Leyland employees who started this organization in the year 2015 and then driving the business progress from that time onward. So this in a very briefly an introduction to WayCool as a company. So now if we have to get into the discussion of the session topic what we are at, I'd just like to take a couple of minutes to set the context in terms of what is it that the problem statement we are looking at. I will not go into too much detail of this problem setting context, because I think many of you will be knowing the seriousness of climate change or the global warming scenario, what is its impact and the effect. What I would like to speak here is, one, climate change is real and it is not myth, which was perceived to be just a terminology which was coined a couple of years back, but now everybody is experiencing it. We are seeing the evidence of the events what are happening, and it is no more kind of a myth story, and we are all responsible for this event. Now if you look at from the 1800s onwards, wherein we call it as the industrial revolution or the industrial era, the composition of the earth atmosphere started changing year on year. It was realized, or it was identified, that the concentration of certain types of gases which are called as greenhouse gases, and more predominantly the CO2, the concentration of this in the atmosphere is increasing year on year. Until about, I would say 1950 or 1960, it was increased at a gradual pace. But then from 1950 onwards, which we call it as the industrial boom era, it started growing at an exponential phase. From about 310 parts per million, it has reached to almost 420 parts per million just in about last 6-7 decades. Now, this is the problem which has been identified by the people, and towards this, they a lot of global community are looking at taking measures, steps at a country level, at a global level in terms of defining policies, initiatives, all these things. So many of you might be knowing about the agendas with respect to Paris Climate Agreement or the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which all targets to solve this challenge of how do we restrict the increase of this concentration of these gases within the Earth atmosphere. Now, if you look at India as a country, I would say we are the most vulnerable and we are the most exposed country to this climate change impact. In fact, even as we speak today, we all know every winters what will be the situation of air quality within Delhi. And the place where I am sitting now, Chennai and in Bangalore, we just uh, came through one of the floods, extreme rains and floods in these two cities. In fact, Bangalore experienced the highest rainfall ever recorded in the month of November. So all these events changes while it was happening even before 1800. Now the frequency and intensity of these events have increased multiple times. Now, if we don't take any action related to it, there is a lot of things at stake, or in a very nutshell, it is the livelihood itself is at stake. Hence, it is important to take this action in terms of how do we solve this crisis. And here, I would say India plays a very prominent role. When I say India, it is also important to know where India as a country stands in terms of its contribution towards this climate crisis. If you look at 2018 recent data just before the COVID situation, what was the overall global emissions? It was close to about 38 billion tons of CO2 equivalent globally. Of this, the major share of it, or the top 10 emitting countries, contributed to almost 65% of these emissions. India among this stands at third position. We had emitted about 3.4 billion tons of CO2 equivalent during 2018, topped by China and USA, which is for the share at India, it's about 7.1%. This is the absolute emission figures. Now, vis-a-vis, if you compare India's contribution from the per capita emissions perspective, we don't fare even in the top 20 countries. That is because of the very obvious reason of the population which we have. Although we are not in the top 20 countries, what is more interesting to see is the percentage change of this absolute emission as well as the per capita emission, what this country has experienced in the last 2 or 3 decades from 1990 onwards, which is increased by more than 200%. During 1990, our absolute emission was just about 1.1 billion tons, and the per capita emission was about 0.8, more than 250. The situation is almost similar with China as well. That is the reason why globally, when it comes to India as well as China, the focus is more, and also the pressure is more on these two countries. Whatever global crisis or interventions or the it's otherwise solve these issues also becomes a very dicey situation. So it is exactly the reason why there is a lot of global pressure as well on India as well as on China to take some very ambitious or bold goals in terms of addressing this climate crisis as well. So at the country level, if you look at the emissions categorization with respect to sector wise, the energy sector, which primarily has generation of electricity and heat, contributes the most with about 37%, followed by the agriculture sector, which is about 21%. You all know that I think in India, the dependency of job on agriculture and its value chain, almost 60 to 65% of the population is dependent on this job, and is also one of the second highest contributing sector to the climate change, followed by the manufacturing and construction, and then by the transport. And lastly, the other sectors of building waste and others contributes the remaining part of it. Now, if you look WayCool as an organization, for us, a couple of these elements become very important. Looking at the business profile where we are into. One particularly is the agriculture sector, and second is the transportation sector, which both put together crosses over 30% of the global climate change crisis contribution. It becomes even more important for us to incorporate the activities or initiatives which helps us in terms of overcoming these challenges as well. Recently, with the pressure what India has, the conference of parties concluded just about a couple of weeks back, and India has made some very bold and ambitious commitments, which is termed as Panchamrita. And some of the commitments are very crucial to look at because these are the commitments which will also kind of drive the future policies in the country and also the future business plan for various enterprises in the country. If you look at the first commitment, India has said that we will get to about 500 gigawatt of non-fossil energy capacity by 2030. This is one of the first commitment what it has given in the COP26. Currently in 2019, if you look at overall energy capacity of India, this is about I think 365 gigawatts. Out of this 365 gigawatt, almost 65% is contributed by fossil fuel sources, which is dominated by coal and gas, and then about 20 odd percentage by the renewable sector. Now, by 2030, the expected energy capacity for India is about 850 to 900 gigawatt, and the commitment what it speaks is out of this almost 500 gigawatt will be from the non-fossil fuel sources. So this is completely going to change the overall energy mix for the country. From the existing 22% renewable, this will go over 55 to 56% by 2030, and the existing non-fossil fuel source, the fossil fuel source, which is about 65%, that will come down to almost 30% as per this target by 2030. Now this will encourage, and also there will be a lot of policies, measures and initiatives to drive the non-fossil fuel sources of energy generation. This includes hydro, water, wind, solar, biomass, all these areas of interventions, and we can expect a lot of these projects to take up from now on. This is closely subscribed by the second commitment, which speaks that we will be having more than 50% of energy requirement from the renewable sources. I think here the larger target or the focus is on the solar sector, followed by the wind power. And I think there have been a lot of policies across at the country level as well as at the state level, which is supporting these targets as well. The third commitment is India will reduce the projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons from the present scenario till 2030. Now again here, if you look at the present contribution, which I spoke about 3.3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent, the vis-a-vis estimation by 2030 is about it will reach about 5.5 billion. Now with this commitment, we need to restrict our absolute emissions to just below 4.5 billion tons of carbon equivalent. This will be possible only if there is large scale implementation which leads to carbon removal and sequestration, which otherwise will not be possible. Again, a lot of these activities and initiatives is going to take a lot of traction going forward. The fourth one, by 2030, India wants to reduce the carbon intensity with respect to its GDP or the economy by less than 45%. This is a target, I think, which we have already reached 25% of the target, and we want to move towards being a 45% reduction in carbon intensity is what we are looking at. And the fifth one, which putting all these things together, India at a country level want to achieve a net zero emission country by 2070. Now, this is a target which was, very interesting because during the Paris Climate Agreement, what was required by the countries globally, if we have to restrict the, global warming scenario of, below 1.5 degrees centigrade, it was required for China to become net zero by 2040 and India and other countries to become net zero by 2050. Now India has given a commitment of 2070, which is stretched beyond about 2 decades from 2050. However, there was no objection raised by any country because most of the countries have given this target. So everybody, kept quiet on this target as well. However, I think it will be more important to look at how feasible or how critical this will be in terms of reducing these years as well. So what does all these commitments means for all the business enterprises in the country? It is not that when India as a country is making the commitment, the government or the BJP will be doing anything. It will just get cascaded to various business sectors within the country, whether it is the discrete manufacturing industries like oil, gas, textile, chemicals, fertilizers, or FMCG companies. It is going to be a lot of policies, interventions which will drive all these activities to achieve these targets. Now it is even more important for businesses like us to brace ourselves for these changes in the landscape, or in other ways adopt sustainability as an approach and be ahead of this curve. Now, I just want to take the rest of the time in terms of how WayCool has been adopting this sustainability as a business strategy, and what was the impact initiatives what we have been taking in this direction. So, first of all, the first question I would like to answer is why sustainability? When we look at any business enterprise, for them to kind of adopt any change to their business plan, or any new expansion, or any new business decision, you can categorize the driving force into two buckets. In general, it can be one as the risk and second as the gain. If there is a risk of losing something, or if there is a benefit of gaining something, quickly the business enterprises will adopt the change within their business. Now, if you look at sustainability, I would put this in both these buckets. If somebody adopts sustainability as a business approach, they have the benefit of gaining many benefits, both tangible and intangible. If they don't do it, they're at risk of losing many things. Whether it is in terms of physical risk, or the market risk, or the reputation risk, any of these elements. Now, sustainability about 2 decades back, if you see, when the terminology was coined largely in India, it was looked more from a CSR perspective, or as a philanthropic activity, and people mostly looked at this as a good to do activity. Over the years, I think most of the companies in India, or the industries, they have realized that it is not a good to do initiative, but a need to do initiative, because there is various driving forces which creates this. For WayCool, if we look at the driving elements, I think I can categorize this into these 5 buckets. One is certainly the compliance from the statutory requirements. If you look at 3 elements, which is environment, social, and governance, ES and G, the compliance needs for across all these 3 buckets have taken a predominant turn in India over the last couple of years. uh, any policies and decisions which have been taken with respect to environment, so which earlier was just about environmental law, air act and water act. Now you see all the focus that is going into managing plastic waste, managing hazardous waste, what is the type of machineries, technologies, diesel generators you are using, what is the emissions of this, whether you are maintaining within the prescribed limits. All this focus has come in from the environment perspective. Similarly, on the social angle, every businesses are looked from what is the kind of employee well-being and safety looked at, whether the business has any impact on the biodiversity or the local community, whether there is any human rights crisis because of this business, there is any unethical practices done. All these things are looked, and also similarly from the governance angle, how transparent the company is, how is the accounting done, what is the governance system mechanism, all these things being looked. These 3 things are closely driven by one, the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, which is also supported by the National Green Tribunal, and also the regulatory filing agency, somebody like Securities and Exchange Board of India. All these 3 look at ESG as the core element of compliance requirement. It has already started, and it's going to explode more in future as well. So sustainability as a measure, it will one help you conform to these compliance requirement. It just not only helps you conform, but it will probably keep you well ahead of this compliance need as well. Second and more important is the savings. It was a situation, during probably about 1 or 2 decades back, sustainability was considered as a cost. Now it is a tool to save money. That is how I put it across. By taking this intervention, there is a good amount of savings which can be unearthed for an organization, and in fact, WayCool has largely explored this opportunity, and we see a lot of tangible and intangible benefits for the company, which is improving our bottom lines as well. Third is creating value for all the stakeholders and the society. For example, with WayCool perspective, if I had to say, we work with apart from our employees, our vendors, farmers, investors, suppliers, all this category. There's certain amount of value which we create, and that gets shared with these stakeholders as well, which helps in anybody to have a long-term sustainable and healthy relationship. Fourth driving force is on the communication perspective. This sustainability is also a tool which we foresee as a way of creating brand credibility and reputation, and this will also induce showcasing your transparency in terms of what initiatives and impact you have created. So of late in the social media and most of the public domains, more than the business performance, you look at companies speaking about their sustainability agenda. That is purely because it is creating some type of value for the company, and hence they are doing so. And lastly, it contributes to the larger cause of the SDG commitments. SDGs, I hope you all know that SDGs are the Sustainable Development Goals, which has 17 different goals and 169 different targets. And all the interventions and initiatives taken around the sustainability for WayCool contributes to some of these SDGs as well. So these five elements becomes a primary driving force for us in terms of adopting this journey as part of our business strategy. Now, how do we look at this as an overall vision or a purpose statement? We have defined a very simple purpose statement on sustainability, which speaks as leaving the planet a better place than how we found it. What it translates into is to run our business operations on the value chain, we use different types of input resources, and we also generate as part of this value chain a lot of wastage as well. What is the focus we are looking at is wherever we are consuming these input resources, optimize or reduce the consumption of this through efficiency and technology intervention, and wherever the wastage is there, ensure it doesn't have any adverse impact or the negative impact on the environment or the society, or in a way help the earth planet earth to regenerate itself and create it a better place for the future generation. So in order to achieve or move towards this purpose statement, it is not possible for us to move in silos. Hence, we co-partner with most of our key stakeholder group and work along with tandem with them and ensure that we generate this value as well. This purpose statement is for WayCool further translated into environmental and social strategic pillars. We define these strategic pillars looking at more at a holistic value chain of our business operation, which starts with the sustainable operation. Within our operations, we have the priorities of bringing in energy efficiencies through a lot of energy efficient measures and technology intervention, creating water security. One, reduce the use of raw water consumption, and also second, whatever water is used, ensure it is treated and reused back and recharged back to plant groundwater. Third, being in a food for supply chain business, minimize the food miles travel and also the wastage. So for us, minimizing food travel has a direct business benefit, and also it reduces the wastage, which has the social benefit as well. On the second pillar, which is on the climate action, our priorities are to increase the renewable energy use within our operations wherever it is possible for us to explore this. Transition of our existing logistic fleet to clean and green fuel, which is the green food miles what we are targeting. And the third is at the sourcing level, how we can promote the conventional farming techniques to regenerative agriculture farming techniques. So these are the three priorities under climate action. On the social value, we target again two set of community members, the farmers and then the rural, marginalized or vulnerable community members. With both these community members, our agenda is to help them, generate more income for themselves so that they can lead a sustainable livelihood. Lastly, while we drive all these initiatives because of the employees of this company, it is also equally important for us to deliver an workplace which is enriching and delightful for the employees. And here we prioritize learning and development for the employees, the employee engagement, various initiatives, as well as creating a safe and healthy workplace for the employees. So I will get into some of the impact initiatives what we have taken across these four strategic pillars. But before that, we also have established a long-term ambition, I would say, or as an aspiration for WayCool, which we want to achieve over the next couple of years, which speaks about being a net zero ambitions for the company. The first one being to become a net zero carbon emission company across our operations and also within the value chain. We want to neutralize the impact of this carbon emission through various carbon avoiding and carbon capture or sequestration measures. So this is the first ambition what we are looking at. The second one is we want to become a water positive company. Again here, whatever water we are using within our operations, we want to give more water back to planet Earth. The third being become a zero liquid waste discharge facility or a company. Whatever water liquid waste is generated, we want to ensure that it's treated and the quality maintained within the permissible limits of PCB standards and it is being reused. And lastly, zero waste to landfill organization. So these are the four ambitious goals with which the company looks at as a long-term aspirations. We are in the phase of creating a roadmap and strategy towards these four ambitions with respect to the timelines, what should be year-on-year targets to achieve and all these things. At present, the company also has established yearly commitments or targets around environmental, social, and governance aspects. For the current year, we are looking at these five focus areas and the targets around it. This includes all the energy efficiency, climate action, water security, minimizing the food waste, and also the sustainable livelihood measures and the targets which we are working. In fact, most of the targets we are in the right path of achieving this for the current financial year. And all these measures what we are taking, this subscribes to almost about 11 sustainable development goals out of the 17 goals what we have. So this is more on the the how we are trying to incorporate sustainability within our business. I would say the decision or the strategy part of it. Now moving to some of the initiatives or what are the impact that has these initiatives generated. WayCool, if you see, I spoke about we have 39 odd distribution centers which we are operating. We have taken multiple measures across these operations. One of the initiatives on the climate action which we primarily are looking at is switching or harnessing the renewable source of energy to meet our energy demands. Now, from in the last one and a half year, we have completed 3 such projects within our business operations. And recently, we converted our largest distribution center, which is in Chennai, to solar rooftop power as well. Currently, the installed capacity of solar is about 96 kilowatt, and all this installation generates on an average of about 1.4 lakh units annually, and it avoids an emission of equivalent to 114 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions. Now, the most important or the interesting part of this assignment is all these projects on solar, what we have implemented. These are completely on operational expense model. We have made zero capital investment with this project. We have got into long-term contracts with the vendors at a flat fixed price for the entire contract period. And at the end of the contract, the assets becomes owned by WayCool as well. Straight away, these projects from day one, with the prices what we have implemented, this has a 25% savings from the existing energy cost what we are paying in the baseline. So what these projects are doing is it is delivering multiple benefits for us. One, on the environmental front, it is clean and green energy generation, so it avoids the equivalent amount of climate impact what the company creates. Second, it is financially lucrative project. It is delivering right away savings for the company. And third, as a social impact, by avoiding these emissions, it is also creating clean and good environment as well. Now, what we foresee from this is, at present, we are about 3% of our overall energy comes from the renewable source. By the end of the year, we want to double this and move towards 6 to 7% of the capacity installations. Similarly, other initiative what we have taken is on transition of our logistic fleet to again clean and green fuel. WayCool probably is one of the initial companies in the country who again piloted the use of 3-wheeler and 2-wheeler electric vehicles in their logistic fleet. You might see a lot of news about the passenger vehicles coming up with the electric EVs and all. But within the logistic, I would say the integration is even lesser. However, the company has taken measures almost about from 1.5 years back to use electric vehicles in this fleet. From last September till August for the first year, we completed almost about 30,000 plus green kilometers. through these vehicles, which are primarily used in Bangalore and Coimbatore for the last mile delivery. And we have saved equivalent amount of diesel and the carbon emissions from this as well. Now, this is a space where we are closely monitoring because, as many of you might be knowing, the reliability and availability of these EVs is still not very good in the country. There's also a lot of support required from the policy and the infrastructure in terms of creating the EV recharging station and other things. We are in constant discussion with most of these OEM providers, whether it is Piaggio or Mahindra, all these players, and as and when the availability of good reliable vehicles happens to be available in the market, we'll be increasing our share of logistic fleet to the electric vehicles as well. Parallelly, we are also exploring the opportunity to also have CNG based logistic vehicles as well in the in our fleet, and very shortly we should be starting with that vehicles as well. So primarily what we are looking at is significant use of clean fuel logistic vehicles within our logistic requirements. The third element is on where I spoke about reducing the food miles. This again is very important, angle of initiative for us. Reducing food miles again has multiple benefits what we foresee as a company. So this is one such initiative what we took for in terms of procuring the exotic produce, which is including the leafies and other exotic vegetables. Primarily, we were supplying the Bangalore customers of this exotic produce, which were procured from the OT region, which is about 360 kilometers away from Bangalore. So we worked along with the farmer, which is in the outskirts of Bangalore, and helped him develop this exotic farm at his location itself, which is just about 2 kilometers away from our distribution center there. Now, with this, initiative, what we did, we are able to, get this produce just about 2 kilometers away, which was almost about 360 kilometers in the baseline. Again, this initiative delivered, various benefits. On the financial front, there is a direct savings in terms of the logistic cost. On the environmental front, every trip of this travel from OT was using about 50 liters of fuel, and with an emission of about 35,000 CO2 equivalent emissions, which has been avoided now. At the customer level, now since the material is available at a very short distance, there's a very quick turnaround time in terms of delivery of this produce to the customers, and they are able to enjoy freshest possible material as well. So that is how this initiative again is something which is creating multiple impacts, and we foresee to take such initiatives going forward as well. Lastly, on the climate action, WayCool also has taken initiatives in terms of, I would say, the forestation initiative, wherein in the outskirts of Chennai, we adopted this technology of using Miyawaki type dense forest development. This project was executed, along with Greater Chennai Corporation and supported in terms of implementation through one of the NGOs here. We have converted one of the barren lands in the outskirts of Chennai, which is about 15,000 square foot, into a dense forest plantation drive. So this project just executed inaugurated in last 2 months, and we believe that in next 1 year time the growth will be almost about 1 meter height, and within 2 to 3 years it will be completely converted into a green plantation space. Here almost about 3,000 odd saplings are done, covering about 42 different local species, and the amount of sequestration, carbon sequestration, which is estimated from this project is almost about 30,000 kg of CO2 equivalent. Now this project again is not something which the company looked at from a CSR perspective. This is a very strategic project which is taken up by the company towards moving our facilities to carbon neutrality as well. So just about 8 to 10 kilometers away from this site is where we have one of our unit in Padapai, which has an equivalent amount of CO2 emissions, and we foresee that in the next 2 to 3 years, because of these initiatives, the unit will move towards carbon neutrality. So that is how this project has also been taken up by the company. Next, on the water front, again water is a very core I would say agenda or element for WayCool. Although as a company we are not water intensive because of the business profile what we are into. Water is largely used for the domestic purpose, for drinking and domestic purpose, and very less for the operational use. However, as a resource, water is very important, and we believe that it is our moral responsibility to ensure that water is secured for the future generation. Across many of our facilities, we have implemented this treatment facilities, wherein whatever water is being used gets treated in these facilities, and we ensure the quality parameters are maintained within the permissible limits. And after that, it is either reused for the domestic use, or we have created the recharge pit within our facilities, where through which it is recharged back to the groundwater. Now, recently, we have completed this project at three of our facilities, which have moved to become zero liquid discharge waste facilities, wherein there is no wastewater that goes outside the plant boundary. And we foresee that wherever we have identified few more opportunities where we'll be taking up this initiative as well. Currently, of the total water which is being used by WayCool, almost 25% of it is being treated and either reused or treated back to groundwater. And by end of the year, we see that we will be reaching close to about 35-40% of this requirement as well. Similarly, we also have a model farm in the outskirts of Bangalore, where we have created farm pond of about capacity of about 1.23 lakh liters. And this farm, the entire water, whatever falls, rainwater, whatever falls within this farm is collected through the channels and directed towards this farm pond. And it is being used completely for the agriculture purpose. And also there is a recharge pit which is next to this farm, through which it is also recharged back to the ground. The beauty of this project is, again, there is not even a single drop of water from this agriculture farm which goes waste. Everything gets collected, and absolutely zero soil erosion or depletion within the farm. And from the time we inaugurated this project in last year August till now, we haven't faced even a single day wherein there was no availability of the water. So this is one more intervention on the water what we have taken. I would like to take a couple of minutes on this outgrow program of WayCool. Initially, I spoke about the farmer base with which we are working of about 85,000 farmers. There are two ways of engagement what WayCool does with the farmers. One is pure transactional, wherein we procure the produce and we pay them. Second, whoever farmer is ready to work with us, we work with them in a long-term partnership through a program called as Outgrow. Outgrow is basically an agri extension program of WayCool. This is designed with an objective to make the small holding farmers in the country to become resilient to any external fluctuations and reduce the risk for the farmer. So under this program, which was started in the year 2018-19, we are into third year of it. We have almost about 1,500 farmers who are part of this program, with a overall land holding of about 3,600 plus acres. We handhold the farmer here through the entire cultivation cycle, right from the planning of what needs to be grown till the phase of what inputs to be used, and also up to the stage of harvesting. Here, some of the interesting interventions what the companies have taken, company WayCool has taken is in terms of helping the farmer how to use natural ways of farming techniques, how to ensure that the soil health is maintained at a high level so that the produce or the yield increases. What are the type of quality inputs you can use? What is the ways of controlling the pest and diseases without using fertilizers, chemicals, or pesticides? Still, you can manage these pest and diseases. And all these such measures are taken are provided to the farmers in the form of advisory inputs. And this is also created as a package of practice which is provided to the farmers, and we closely work with them in terms of implementing these initiatives. And we have seen that the farmers are experiencing almost 10 to 20% increase in their yield, which also translates to equivalent amount of money as well to them. So this is a flagship program of WayCool, wherein we are closely engaged with the farmers in this direction of incorporating sustainability within the farming practices. Lastly, on the empowering the rural community members, again, like I said, women and rural entrepreneurship is a program what we have taken. See, WayCool as a company, doesn't believe in typical donations or CSR activity. Whatever we try to create a social impact, it should also make a business sense for us, and it should actually create real impact for the community as well. So in that direction, these two are the initiatives what we have taken. One in the state of Tamil Nadu, we have reached to some of the remotest location, and where we have identified women entrepreneurs, and we have in fact developed these entrepreneurs and who have partnered with WayCool as a kind of front end facing uh, supplier for the essentials of the company. We deliver almost about 40 to 50 different essentials to the doorstep of these women entrepreneurs. They are located in the remotest part of the country in Tamil Nadu across 5 different districts, where the access to various types of infrastructure like road or travel and hospitals and other facilities are very minimal. And we deliver these essentials, and they keep these essentials not in any shops or anything but within their home, and they sell these products to the community, which is based out in that very close circuit. These are the pockets where there are householding of just about 100 to 150 households, nothing more than that. And for them to get these essentials, they have to travel a couple of kilometers away to get these essentials. So now we are helping them, one, to reach these commodities closer to their facility by delivering at their doorstep, and second, it is also a kind of job creation for them. And what we have seen is, till date we have developed almost about 33 different women entrepreneurs in this range, across 5 districts in Tamil Nadu, and they have experienced almost a 10% increase in their earnings as well through this initiative. So one, there is a social impact for them. Second, availability of these commodities easily for them, and also for WayCool as a company, we have our presence of brands and our essentials reaching to some of the remotest places as well. Similarly, with the rural workmen, what we have again done here is we have helped these rural some of the workmen to establish primary spices processing and repacking facilities. We have provided, or we have given, told them what is the technology they have to use for this repacking and processing requirement. We also provide them all the trainings on GMP practices, and these workmen work for us in these units, and process the spices, clean, package them, and then sell it to the retail for the retail sales. So currently, again in Tamil Nadu, there are about 12 different workmen who are employed on this way, who are working for 2 shifts a day and churning about 75 tons of whole spices through this program. And we have seen that these workmen are able to increase their earnings by almost about 24% as part of this program. Again, this is more of a social impact initiative what the company has identified, and we have taken in this direction. So these are some of the impact initiatives what the company is driving on the environmental and social front. Lastly, I would just like to summarize with respect to how we foresee the future path for the company in terms of creating the business impact, or I would say the mega trend for the company. So if you look at this, we look at the opportunity available for us right from the farming space till the end customer space where the package is being delivered. At the farming level, we see that regenerative agriculture practice is going to be a major intervention going forward in the country or in the globe as such. There's a lot of research and development happening in this space. Like I mentioned initially, agriculture is one of the second largest contributor to the climate change. Whatever intervention we take here will help in tackling this challenge to a larger extent. So WayCool has started in this direction. We have created a model farm in the outskirts of Bangalore, which is called as Outgrow Agriculture Research Station, which is completely developed and maintained and done or practiced on the regenerative principles. Some of the interesting activities what we do there is the entire farm is powered through solar. Water for irrigation, water within the farm. It's a 4-acre parcel land. Water for irrigation, the street lights, whatever we have. We also have a training center. Entire thing is powered through solar, green energy. There is a farm pond which I showed the pic of it. There is no single water within the farm which is wasted. It all gets collected and is used for ground recharge or farming. The farm uses zero chemical or synthetic fertilizer, zero chemical or synthetic pesticides. It is completely managed with natural ways of fertilizer, which is prepared within the farm and used for the cultivation practices. On as on date, we are growing almost about 32 different SKUs of vegetables and fruits in this farm. All the pests and diseases is managed through natural ways. We have border crops, we have mulching practices, we have cover crops, which is used to control the weed, which is used to control the soil moisture level. This farm has a installed soil testing station within the farm itself. We measure the soil nutrients and the soil properties very frequently, and we take all the natural ways of improving the soil organic carbon content. And the farm has climate change technology installed within the farm, which has a radius of about almost 25 kilometers from the farm. It gives the inputs with respect to what is the next expected rain, what will be the forecast for the next 10 to 12 days in terms of wind direction, wind speed, all these inputs which come to us, basis which we plan our cultivation as well. There are 2 or 3 cattle maintained within the farm, which is collected. That cow dung and urine is collected, and all of this is used in preparing the natural, fertilizers for the farm. So it is purely, managed with the available resources within the farm. There is no residue burning of the farm. All the residues are used as manure. Through all these practices, we have seen that most of the vegetables and fruits which are grown, one, the quality of these producers, the nitrogen content of these producers are much lesser, and the quality is much better, and also the yields are much better than what the traditional or conventional farming practices are there. Now what we are planning to do in future is to promote these practices to the farmers going forward. We are targeting almost about 1 lakh acres of farm to be covered under this program, and we have developed the team to kind of do this project as well. And this is the plan for the next 5 years what we have taken, and we want to take this. So regenerative agriculture is one of the next future big thing which the company will be following. Similarly, on the sourcing part, while we are promoting the regenerative agri practices, at the same time we want to ensure that there is complete responsible sourcing with respect to support to the small holding or marginal farmers in the country, and also all the ethical practices which is being done. Now WayCool is as a company, we get into an agreement with the farmer with whomever we are doing the business. 100% of the farmers who are working with WayCool has got a bank account. The money is directly deposited to the accounts within 5 days time period. So we don't have any hand-to-hand transactions in the entire business sector what we are playing in. Similarly, the third portion, the transportation, I think, which I spoke about, 2 elements of focus what we are looking at. One is optimize the logistic movement. Here, the technology team of WayCool works predominantly in terms of using AI and machine learning to ensure there is minimum food travel which happens from source to destination. There are various interventions what we are taking in terms of strategically putting up the collection center and distribution center closer to the source. Second, increasing or upsizing the vehicle capacities. Third, also using temperature and humidity controlled vehicles so that the shelf life of the produce is maintained much better. And at the same time, one is on the reduced food travel. Second is on the clean and green vehicles, which I spoke about, the EVs and the CNGs and other options what we are evaluating. Third, within our operations, I think we are looking at every ways how we can reduce our environmental footprint, whether it is on the energy front, water front, or the wastage front. We don't want to leave any of this because we believe that working on any of these elements has got direct benefit for us in terms of saving money as well. And fourth, on the brands, for us it is 3 dimensions: sustainable, secure, and safe. Now customer delight is very important for us in terms of providing the safe and hygiene produce. So we want to ensure that whatever produce or the products we are handling, they are free of any preservatives or adulteration, and we provide safest possible produce to the customers as well. And lastly, on the packaging, packaging plays multiple roles. One, it is it creates that brand impact in terms of what the company wants to propose to the customer, but at the same time it is one of the major elements in terms of extending the product shelf life. So we have a team of packaging experts who work predominantly in terms of using the right packaging materials and also reducing the use of plastic within our packaging through design and innovations. and lastly also using recyclable and reusable packaging materials. So these are something what the company sees going forward are the major impact areas where we can where we want to work, and we'll be taking our measures in this direction. Yeah, so I'd like to stop here. I think I am also completing the time limit for the session. If there are any questions, I'm open to answer them.
Thank you so much for such an elaborative and detailed session about how WayCool has been embracing the sustainability part throughout their organization and the supply chain. So,
Yeah,
sir, before we have a hand raise, but also I had a question. So,
yeah.
you spoke about regenerative agriculture being a part of WayCool's ambition. So, do you see combining precision agriculture along with regenerative agriculture?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think when it comes to agriculture, there are three elements what we need to do look at. One is material movement, second is data movement, and third is the money movement. All these three things we have to bring in the precision agriculture practices, and when we are talking about regenerative, it tries to solve all these angles as well, in terms of market linkage of the prices, in terms of available financial security and the models for the farmers, where they can apply for various loans and other things, also creating the uh, post harvest support in terms of storage and transportation as well. So regenerative one within the farming cultivation is what very importantly we are looking at, and also post the cultivation as well the support we will be providing. So these two, we have in fact a mobile application called as Outgrow, which is available on the Android phones as well. And in fact, you guys also can download and see the kind of inputs what is there. It provides a lot of inputs from the precision agriculture as well, right from the market linkage, prices, the various types of pest and diseases, how it can be solved. All this information are available. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. So I request Chapi to ask question.
Hi, sir. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I think I've learnt a lot. I don't come from the fashion background, sorry, from the food industry background. So I come from the fashion background. So it's very new to me. So my question was, you were talking about you work with farmers directly, and you know where your farmers are. So I just wanted to know about the level of transparency, and how do your customers, because you're mostly a B2B business, so how do your customers use it? That was my question. Yeah.
See, our farmer base, in terms of how it is categorized, predominantly is within the five southern states and also in Maharashtra, and most of the pulses comes from the various regions of the country. One, like I mentioned, there are two engagements with the farmer. One is pure transactional, wherein we buy and we pay them. We know the traceability of the farmer from where the source, at the source level, where it is coming. So if we are doing a direct buying from the farmer, we know from which farmer we are buying. If we are buying from the FPO, we have the traceability up to the level of which FPO we are buying. And if it is from an aggregator, again, we know from the which aggregator, which commodity is being bought. Similarly on the outgrow engagement level, it is up to the farm level. We have the in fact the data in terms of what the farmer is following, what are the inputs he is providing, and how he's practicing the cultivation practices and the harvesting practices. Because outgrow is a program which is more of an hand holding program to the farmer. So from the customer perspective, I think the outgrow program is something which we will be able to provide the traceability till the customer level. However, on the transactional basis, it is only at the source level what we are aware as on date.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions for the speaker?
Yes, sir. So you were talking about the Miyawaki plantation in Chennai. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to know on what parameters are these, is the location chosen for the carbon sink? Because I'm sure your agricultural impact is like not based in Chennai exactly. So like how do you choose a location, and are there any particular parameters towards it?
See, Miyawaki, there are a couple of basic things what needs to be taken care. See, this is a way of dense forest development, and the success of this forest development purely depends on the I would say the local flora and fauna species which is being used. So you cannot grow something which is local to northeastern part of India in Tamil Nadu. So again, here in this project, where we have done in the outskirts of Chennai, through this NGO partner GCC, we identified the local species which are very particular to that location, and the plantation is very specific to those species only. In fact, uh, the what the philosophy of Miyawaki is the growth of the fittest. It is so closely or densely planted. The fittest one grows, and the weakest one dies at the small level itself. Uh, yeah, so this is a project which we have taken in terms of carbon sequestration. So I think it's a basic school knowledge what we have probably learned, telling that plants absorb carbon dioxide and gives oxygen. So this Miyawaki, in comparison to the normal plant, has the a larger benefit of sequestration as well. And similarly, there are other reforestation projects like developing mangroves and other things, which has even more better sequestration potential. So this project again, what we have taken is one from the carbon sink creation, which will help moving some of our facilities emission and neutralizing their effect as well.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah,
We have a couple of questions in the chat box as well, sir. So,
yeah. If you can read out, I think. Yeah,
yeah, I could read out.
yeah. Please.
So Siddharth is asking, sir, since few of the students in the batch have a sustainability domain and interest, so we also have a past experience. So he's asking if we have any valuable opportunities for internship or live project opportunities at WayCool.
Yes, it is there. In fact, the company there's an HR team which looks into the internship programs for the company. We do have a couple of management trainees who work with us on a specific period for a couple of assignments as well. In terms of opportunity, yes, the team is growing within Waco. We presently are a 6-member team, and we see that it will be grown by another 2-3 members, and we are in the phase of getting the teams within place as well. But yeah, I think I can connect you guys to the HR team and you can discuss with them for the internship program. And we would like to know what is the time period where your students are available, and accordingly we can plan as well.
Sure, sir. Thank you. And next question is by Simran. So she wants to know what are the challenges faced by WayCool in their sustainable food supply chain strategies.
Supply chain, I think I started by saying in India it's very complex. Uh, like I mentioned, the way the farmers believe what is the right way of growing the produce, and then the different players or parties available between the farmer to the customers in terms of exchange of hand. All this, there is multiple. For example, at the farmer level, there is a local aggregator that goes to the mandis, and from mandis it goes to the next level of aggregator. From that it goes to the local market, and from there it comes to larger aggregator or the APMC yards, and from the APMC yard it again get distributed to various different channels and retail outlets. So because of these complexities, I mentioned about a lot of inefficiencies which are there. So WayCool exactly is working in this space in terms of overcoming these inefficiencies, and we see that technology is something which will help us solve a lot of these inefficiencies. In fact, we have our own developed applications which are used in terms of overcoming this. For example, the entire farmer engagement is through mobile application, which we call it as Garuda, and then the entire engagement with the vendors and other is through another mobile application. We also have a customer oriented application called as Pragati Direct, and for the Outgrow program we specifically has Outgrow as a mobile application. So all these transactions, which when it moves towards digital, there is a lot of challenges which are solved, and that is how I think we have been trying to work in this direction. And yeah, I mean, going forward as well, technology will be a big element. We consider ourselves to be an agri-technology company, and we have a big pool of technology specialists in the organization who work in this, to overcome all the supply chain challenges.
I think we can wind up the session, but before that, I would like to request Chavi to give vote of thanks for today's session.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Monisha. And thank you so much, Srinidhi sir. We had this was a great session, and I think as sustainability management students, one of the most impactful lines that you said was that WayCool does not believe in charity and donation. We believe that sustainability comes as a business, it's a business case. So I
Yes.
think that was one of the most encouraging lines for all of us here. And I hope we can continue our association and we can keep learning from you in the future as well. And thank you, sir, once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It was pleasure being with you all. And if you guys have any few doubts, clarification, you can always write to me, and I'll be happy to answer them. Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you so much, sir.